It is accurate to say that the International Space Station is one of humanity's greatest inventions. However, this does not stop people from disagreeing with the enormous structure. One of them is that unidentified flying objects frequently visit it. How come UFOs would visit the ISS? Is a dismal thing going to occur? What's more, why the concealment by specialists? Come along with us as we examine in detail how NASA discovered a massive object docking on the International Space Station. Earth-orbiting massive spacecraft is the International Space Station. Crews of astronauts and cosmonauts reside there. Additionally, the space station is a one-of-a-kind science laboratory. The space station was built and run by a number of nations working together. The components of the space station were built by astronauts in space. At an altitude of about 250 miles, it travels around the Earth. It can go around the Earth every 90 minutes at a top speed of 17,500 miles per hour. Using the space station, NASA is learning more about living and working in space. Humans will be able to travel further into space than ever before thanks to these lessons. The space station is as big as 2 Boeing 747 jetliners, or as big as a house with 5 bedrooms. It can accommodate 6 crew members and visitors. On Earth, the space station would be nearly 1 million pounds. From its own edges, the station covers the size of a football field, including the end zones. Included are laboratory modules from Europe, the United States, Russia, and Japan. In addition to the laboratories where astronauts conduct scientific research, the space station contains numerous other components. The fundamental systems needed to operate the space station were included in the initial Russian modules. They additionally gave team individuals living quarters, modules called nodes to connect different parts of the station. From the locations of the space station, the solar arrays spread out. These clusters gather sun-based energy and use it to create power. The arrays are connected to the station by a long truss, and radiators on the truss keep the space station outside at a comfortable temperature. Robotic arms that helped construct the space station are located outside of it. These arms can also move astronauts when they do scientific experiments or spacewalk outside. Airlocks that open to the outside allow for spacewalks, and docking ports allow other spacecraft to connect to the station. Crews and visitors arrive at ports, which have recently become the focus of attention due to strange events occurring at the ISS. More than just new crews and human visitors, the ports have received something far more mysterious. However, there is an additional set of components that provide the space station with capabilities that draw people to it: the lenses. 4 cameras on the ISS allow fans to observe what's going on inside the space station. SpaceX sent 4 high-definition video cameras, HDV or high-definition Earth view cameras, to the International Space Station as part of the CR-3 mission in April 2014. The European Space Agency's Large Chrome module, which was added to the space station in 2008, housed these cameras inside a protective box in the Columbus lab on the ISS. The Columbus Eye is the collective name given to the 4 cameras. The College of Bonn in Germany keeps a live streaming site. The Columbus Eye program was developed jointly. One video camera is pointing forward, one is pointing backward at the wake, and one is pointing downward at the nadir for the German Space Agency. An Ethernet cable connects them to the computer on the space station and sends them beaming down to Earth. Strangely, the cameras are used for multiple things. NASA uses them to monitor the rate of image degradation caused by cosmic radiation and the toughness of the camera housing when exposed to those space rates, in addition to beaming footage to humans on Earth. A box that is controlled by pressure and temperature keeps the cameras safe. The camera's performance could help NASA engineers choose which cameras to use on future missions. However, when these cameras transmit information that the space agency does not want you to see, it has been alleged that it deliberately shuts them off during live streaming. NASA is in a unique position to cite strange objects that are not of Earth's origin due to its position and capacity as a space agency. On the other hand, it was thought that the agency limited the information it made available to the general public. Take, for instance, a recent skirmish that sparked the suspicion of UFO enthusiasts that NASA was manipulating a live broadcast. Before NASA's live feed from the International Space Station abruptly stops, a video clip shows an object entering the Earth's atmosphere. The brilliant article is seen plunging toward Earth in the video, which UFO Tracker Roadcap 1 posted on YouTube. The feed then abruptly stops. However, despite this attempt, information on one of history's most contentious topics continues to flow. Regardless of what NASA desires to accomplish, as a matter of fact, it appears to fuel more interest in UFOs as individuals need to understand what specialists may be attempting to stow away from them. For instance, UFO Hunter asserts that NASA's live stream from the ISS showed 10 UFOs. Jeff is the name of the man who reported the sightings. He saw 10 unidentified objects hovering over the ISS while he was watching NASA's live feed. A screenshot of the image was uploaded by Jeff. The ISS was hovering over the South Atlantic at the time. Michael, a YouTuber who claims to be a full-timer, received this screenshot from Jeff. An Earth Watchman is a person who looks for hidden explanations for a variety of phenomena by keeping an eye on the changes that take place on and near Earth. Since then, the screenshots have received hundreds of thousands of views and have become increasingly popular. This incident recalls the legendary mental incident that shaped the UFO debate for a long time. Additionally, it had every indication of an official cover-up. Since it was much simpler to stop the flow of information back then, it was easier to cover up. Then at that point, Thomas F. Mantle was a flying corps chief with heaps of involvement in directing airplanes. At the hour of the episode, Mantle had piled up 2867 hours of flying, so he was no new kid on the block flyer using any and all means. In 1948, Godman Air Force Base in Kentucky received calls about a UFO from Fort Knox, which was nearby. The Godman-controlled tower's chief operator, Sergeant Quinton Blackwell, had just discovered the object. He later recalled that it resembled a red-topped ice cream cone. The operations officer, Captain Gary Carter, was summoned by the tower crew, and the object was pointed out. Carter then contacted Colonel Guy Hicks, the commanding officer. Godman was approached by 4 F-51D fighter aircraft on their way to Standiford AFB from Marietta AFB. Captain Mantle's flight was requested by the Godman Tower to investigate the object. Mantle agreed and started to ascend. 2 additional Mustangs were with him. The 4th vehicle ran out of gas and went on to Standiford. "The object is directly ahead of me and above me now, moving at about half my speed," Mantle reported at 14,000 feet. Due to the fact that their oxygen tanks were running low, 2 of the Mustangs abandoned the pursuit. "On the other hand," Mantle continued, "it appears to be a metallic object or possible sun reflections from a metallic object, and it's enormous in sight," Mantle said about an hour later. "I continue to climb. The object is above me and moving ahead of me at my speed or faster. I'm trying to close the door for a better view." The pilot's subsequent messages were muddled and communication was lost. The Godman Tower 2 lost sight of the UFO shortly thereafter. Mantle had not communicated with them since that point. He has now lost all of the additional information he could have provided about the UFO. The Mantle incident has been the subject of numerous attempts to excuse it. For instance, it has been suggested that Venus was the object that Mantle saw. Even though Venus is frequently mistaken for a UFO, it seems unlikely in this instance. The object could have been a weather balloon, according to another theory. However, based on Mantle's description, it would appear that a typical weather balloon is far too small. In addition, Mantle was sufficiently knowledgeable to know when he was gazing at a weather balloon or a planet. The object could also be an optical illusion of some kind, like a sundog. Sunlight reflecting off ice crystals high in the sky results in sundogs, also known as perihelions. They can appear as massive, bright objects. A sundog, on the other hand, relies on the viewer, the ice, and the sun being in particular positions in relation to one another. As a result, this theory is unproven because the object was observed from multiple angles. However, the media's attention to the Mantle incident was sufficient to prompt the authorities to get involved, and Project Blue Book was born shortly thereafter. After numerous UFO sightings during the Cold War, the Air Force established Project Blue Book in 1952 to explain away or debunk as many reports as possible with the intention of persuading the general public that flying sources could be explained. It was intended to prevent panic and protect the public from a real national security issue, and an apparent technological phenomenon that was outside of human control was not Russian, but posed an incomprehensible potential threat. However, authorities were confronted with a sobering reality behind the scenes. Multiple trained observers, radar data, photographs, ground marks, and physical effects on airplanes were all used in well-documented UFO encounters. Because of this, it was difficult to simply dismiss UFOs as unimportant or a hoax. Also, what was the result of undertaking Blue Book? Major General John Samford, the Director of Intelligence for the Air Force, made the announcement that anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 reports had been analyzed and that the majority of them had been explained. However, he acknowledged that reputable observers of relatively incredible things had made up a certain percentage. This group of observations is currently the focus of our efforts to resolve. Therefore, even though the outcome was inconclusive, it did accomplish something. For instance, the skeptic astronomer Allen Hynek converted to the faith. He came to the conclusion that they were a real phenomenon that urgently required scientific investigation. He also noted that many closed cases were resolved with absurd, frequently enraged explanations, sometimes ironically provided by Hynek himself, despite the fact that hundreds of cases in the Blue Book files remain unsolved. But it looks like official sources are getting closer to telling us the real story about UFOs. It appears that the investigation into UFOs is not yet complete. Yes, the same old NASA has set up a first-of-its-kind panel to look into what the government calls unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs. The 16-member panel, which includes experts in fields as diverse as astrobiology and physics, will only use information from civilian, government, and commercial sources, including unclassified sightings, to conduct its investigation. Before recommending a roadmap for future UAP data analysis, the panel will spend 9 months developing its own strategy for organizing and studying sightings. Its most memorable report is booked to be delivered in mid-2023. However, NASA is not the only government agency looking into UFOs or UAPs. NASA's investigation is distinct from a Pentagon-based investigation into UAPs that was recently formalized and analyzed by U.S. officials in charge of intelligence and defense. In the section below, please share your thoughts on UFOs.